Okay, so I'm going to put it over here, right? So what we're going to do, what we are discussing are, we are trying to add customers in a set, okay, set, right? And so I created a customer with customer ID, name, amount, and a customer constructor, overloaded constructor. Now I'm going to create customer objects. So what I'm going to do, customer C1 equal to new customer of 1001. Say I have John. Okay, I have some 1, 2, 3, 4, some amount. Fine.
Sure.
Now I am going to create another customer. C2 is equal to new customer 1002, comma, again the same thing, right? John 34 1 2 3 4.0. Okay. Now I'm going to create customer C3 equal to new customer 1003. So it's gonna be 1001. 1002, comma, Adam. I'm with 141. Okay. So now I'm going to add all these things in my set. My set dot add of C1. Okay.
Sure.
Then C2, C3. Now when I try to print the size of this set, what is the output? Is a question. System dot
Will be
you need to understand set doesn't allow duplicates, right? That's yeah. My set dot size. So what will be the answer?
Be 2.
It will be 2. Okay. Let us try this. Can you open Eclipse quickly?
Yeah.
So I ran most of the code. We just need to copy paste here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will do that. So let me do first. So that your answer is not correct actually. So it will be 3.
Okay.
So I will explain why it is so. Fine. Okay. So new class.
Because set doesn't understand the customer object.
Set doesn't know a customer is an object. A set doesn't know how you are telling the C1 and C2 are equal. It doesn't mean all the 3 values are equal. You should eliminate. It doesn't know by which field you are meaning by equal. If your poser has 1000 attributes, it doesn't have a control of checking all the 1000 attributes. Maybe your business case may be different. You could have a business case where if customer IDs itself is equal, you may tell that both objects are equal, irrespective of name and amount. You may tell your use case as name and ID is equal to objects are equal, irrespective of. So it's your call, right? It's your call.
Yeah.
Which are equal, correct? So that's how it works.
Right.
Fine. So how a string is working? End of the day, string is also a class, right? So we're gonna see that also. So first we will complete this. Oh, sorry. We can create a getters and setters. Yeah. So this is done. Now let me create a customer test. Okay. So as we discussed, now the output is 3 here. It should come as 3. Okay. Irrespective of set eliminating duplicates, you will get an output as 3. Fine. So the problem here is, it's not a problem, it's the way it works. So it never knows, a set will never know this C1 and C2 are equal. You need to tell why it is equal. So how that is happening is with the help of equals and hash code method. Got it? So you see, in I think we did an employee test, right? Somewhere down the line we could have used set, no? So these are fine. Okay, let me go. I want to go to string class.
It's not set.
Let us try. Where is the location?
Location of
It should be JDK, right?
JDK. JDK is in C drive.
RT.jar.
You can search.
Last one.
1 second. Ashok, 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. ఏమంటారా సాల్వ్ చేసుకోండి
Yeah, Ashok.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you should go into the JRE here. Java JRE lib
Okay.
some RT. Just a minute. I'm looking at. It should be like JRE lib RT.jar should be there. RT. Something is missing here. The source attachment does not contain. Okay, so you don't want to waste time. You just open internet, like yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you see, we used the set of string. If you remember, in set of string, I added John. Again, I added John, and I added Akbar, something like that. When I printed the size, it came 2. Correct? It automatically eliminated.
Yes.
But end of the day, set is also a class. How is that is happening is, if you see inside a set class, string class, you could see that a string class contains a couple of methods called equals and hash code. Equals and hash code is a method from object class. So from the object class, equals and hash code method is being overridden. Got it? So if you see A, B, C, where it is equals and hash code. Where is the equals method? Here.
Yeah, equals in there.
Yeah, can you click that? It's a bit slow from here.
Hash code.
Here. Yeah. If you see what they are doing, equals method generally comes from the object class. Fine. So when equals method comes from the object class, what string class does? It overrides the equal method. Equals method in object class just check whether both are pointing to the same object, whether both references are same. That's it. That's the only thing an equals method in the object class does. That means the two references within the collection are two references, reference A and reference B. If points to the same object, then it's equal according to the object class. Got it? Are you able to understand that?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you override the equals class in your own class, like say for example as string did, what they are doing, they are checking whether the object is coming inside is an instance of string. They are converting into another string, that instance, and they are checking with the two values. One is the v1 and another one going to be the v2 within the set. Got it? So
Okay.
set it will check. So based on that, if both are equal, end of the day string is a character array only in Java. They have written an wrapper for it. That's it. It is not an automatic thing, right? So a character array, you convert to a character array and do a loop and check a character by character. If this character doesn't, at least one occurrence of not matching, it's going to return false. If everything matches, it's not going to this if condition, it's going to return true. I think you understood the condition, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So if that is the case, they are writing their own logic to define whether it is equal or not. So to our class, we need to tell on which property, which attribute both are equal or not. Got it? And one more thing you need to understand. Whenever you override an equal method, you need to make sure that hash codes are true. Okay? So it's a property. So whenever, if you override equals method, should override hash code as well. That means whenever you say two objects are equal, their hash code also should be equal, right? When two objects are equal, their hash codes are also should be equal. But reverse is not.
Okay, but I have a question, Ashok. Hash code can only be equal if the object is same, right? But I think we have to override it because that is not the case. We are trying to make sure the hash code of two different objects are same,
No,
right?
our concept is hash code should be equal when we decide like C1 and C2 are same here based on all the three values, or when we decide when C1 and C2 are same here based on only the ID. When we decide that, we tell that in the equals method. With that, what we do, we also tell that when two objects are equal, when we decide that, we need to make sure that the two objects hash codes are eventually come to be equal. Actually, it will not be equal. In the objects class, if you see, C1's hash code will be different, C2 will be different. Our job is to make sure that C1 and C2 also has the same hash code. If you decide C1 and C2 are same objects, I mean same thing, so that set will eliminate that. Got it? So you need to make sure equals when you override hash code also should be in sync. But the reverse is not true, because hashing is a technique. The two objects may have come up with the same hash code. Rare scenario, but may happen, right? When you say that, you cannot tell the two objects are equal. But when you make it two things are equal, you need to ensure their hash codes are equal. We'll do that now. So what we need to do, basically we have done, right? So we need to go back to customer class and we need to do here. So we need to write equals and hash code method. Okay. So the editor itself will allow us actually to do. We need to go to for source. Okay. Generate hash code and equals. So it will ask you which fields you want actually to define two objects are equal. So out of the three properties in our class, for us, let us assume if all the three things are equal, I am going to say the two objects are equal. It depends upon your business requirement, right? So I select all three and give OK. So it will generate you. Fine. So if you see here, the equals method and hash code method are an override symbol from the object class, and it takes an object only as a argument here. So when you see if the current object and the object you pass is same, you're going to return true. There is no need to check. This is a code that is already in the object class. Fine. If this and object are pointing to the same reference, no need to actually check in the internal content. Both reference pointing to the same object, you are done. No need to check even. So return true. If object is null, return false. If this class and that class are different, if this is a string class and that one is a different class, return false. Otherwise, do a typecast. Then just compare the things. They are just comparing the amount, and they're comparing the customer ID, and they're comparing the things. If any one of them is not equal, return false. They will come to this point only when everything fails. When everything fails, means all the properties are equal. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not that you have to generate every time. If you want to write your own logic inside also, you can. You can do from this line, customer, and you can compare the things, items, whatever you want, right? And here you need to, one more thing. So you need to make sure equals. What are the properties you are used in equals? Properties in the sense the customer ID, name, and the other thing is called amount, right? So what are the properties you use it in equals method to ensure the objects are equal? You need to the same properties in terms of hash code as well. Got it? Okay. So if I have used only customer ID here it should be customer ID only. So when you generate using editor, it will automatically generate for you. Okay. They are trying to generate some number here.
Okay.
When I write directly, what I will do, I will, if it is a wrapper class, I will just simply call dot hash code of it. Okay, what I will do, if customer ID I would have defined as capital integer, I just call return customer ID dot hash code, because in a wrapper class of integer they would have defined some hash code. Got it? So we'll use that.
Okay.
The editor generates more like a prime number logic to ensure it's a unique hash codes. Fine. So what we need to remember as a developer, we need to ensure whatever fields you used here, the properties, see customer ID, name and amount, that is amount, yeah. All the three should be used here as well. Okay. If you use two, those two only should be used. Then only it is correct. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. This is a contract. Now let us try to run that. Last time, if you remember, we got the answer as 3. And now let's see what happens. It should come as 2. Can you drag that console bit top?
Okay, sure. Sure.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Coming to. Yeah.
Got it, right? So this is a concept you need to understand, right? It is things are not automatic here, because string class also does that. I shown you, right? So same thing we do that for a customer class, our own class. So whenever you put it into your set, make sure on what criteria. If you see existing code in some projects, if something is in a set, click on that pojo and make sure on what property they are telling the two objects are equal here. You need to scroll down and see in equals what they are defined and which property they are telling the two objects are equal. Fine. Got that point?
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing, yeah. Same thing applicable to hash map wherever you have. Hash map is key is a key if you use some other object. If you, that's why in hash map case people mostly use string integer already defined classes in Java. They will avoid using key as user defined class, because user defined class should ensure that that particular object is immutable and also make sure equals and hash code being overridden, right? Because hash map works in that way, key comma pair, right? So your key should be unique, right? So you need to make sure already existing. So the design will be most of the cases. I have never seen people using their own data type as a key in a hash map. People generally use string, integer, float, because all these things are well taken care of being immutable and also being overridden as equals and hash code, right? That's a point.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Why? What do you mean by immutable?
Yeah, see, if my point is map of string comma, people generally use this, my map. They will not use in the place of key a user defined object generally, because when you use it, what you need to make sure your key should not be immutable. Got it? What do you mean by immutability is, once I create an object, right? If I try to change anything in the object, that will become a new object. You cannot change the content of the object once it is created. That is called immutability. Got it? We would argue about the question like string is immutable, why it is so. Got it? When I say string s equal to something and I assign another string, I try to modify to the string content, it will never modify the same object. It will create a new object out of it. Got it? So that is called immutability. So all the wrapper classes like string, integer, float are immutable by nature, right? So the key should be immutable, because in a map you use a put method to put some value, and if I change the key later on, that's gonna produce more harmful results, right? So it depends upon the object's content, entire thing, right? So what I'm trying to say, string is here is a immutable object. Okay. So why string is immutable? Say for example, I am doing like string a equal to, I'm making my name. Again.
Okay.
When you do a plus, you can do some concatenation like this, right? So this will a will become Ashok Kumar. But the thing is, here now a points to a totally different object. So how it works? Its immutability will work like I will explain you.
It will be in string pool, right?
It will be in string pool.
Or it will be...
Ashok will be in string
Yes.
pool. You are right. If I have assigned Ashok again, that will be taken from the string pool. That is different. But when I try to change the value, the object will not be changed. A new object will be created. That's the concept.
Okay.
Say initially A points to Ashok.
Right.
When I say A equal to A plus Kumar, it's gonna create a new object telling Ashok Kumar, and this reference is gone.
Sure.
You point to here. This is called immutability. The object once created at any cost cannot be changed inside. That's why strings are made as immutable. The reason behind the network passwords and everything, it goes as a string, right? Lot of things.
Right.
In between, if anyone tries to change, that object is lost. So it gonna work in that way, right? So what my point is, when you use a key as a map, right, the map works based upon the keys, hash code and everything. It uses the algorithm of that, right? It uses the algorithm of whatever object you put it in as a key. So you should use an immutable object only as a maps key. That's an interview question. People will ask like, how will you make your own classes immutable? Okay, that we will see later. But you need to understand that your key should be immutable always, right?
Okay. Okay.
So next thing what I am trying to explain is how we're going to sort objects. Are you clear about equals and hash code, how a set works now?
Yes.
Yes. Fine. So we were discussing to sort few items. If you remember, we are discussing list of string, right? And a new array list of string. We added few items. We used collections.sort. You were asking myself a questions like how I will sort a set, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how I will sort a set? I told like set can be sorted using a tree set. You finally you put everything to a tree set. Got it? And
Yeah.
or you convert to a list and put it into a connections.sort. Anything is fine. Fine. So everything was working last class. So we were just dealing again with the string. We never defined all those things with our user defined data type. Am I correct? So we were used
Right.
list of string. So we are doing this actually. So we just like mail list dot add John, Adam. These are here. So what would happen here when we do like collections that sort of my list? Fine. So it will come like yeah, it will come
Adam,
like
John.
Adam, John Zahir. It will replace it will be case sensitive only. I just written for understanding. Okay. As whatever you will. So collections.sort my list, it will arrange. So how it is working? Again, string is a class, right? It's working. So what if you try with your own class here? Suppose I have like same thing. I'm going to have fine. So here so this got work. And what I'm going to try now is okay. So when I do the same collections.sort of my list, do you think this is gonna happen?
It is going to print out in the same way. No,
Uh,
no sorting.
Actually, in the other case as well, when you added the elements, the objects will get added, right? We get a size. That's a different story. Here, sort method doesn't have a clue on what to do here. It's totally lost here.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
So it's there. It will treat all the objects as what it will do. Generally, here in this case, a new customer, new customer. When it put it in a set, its job is to invoke equals and hash code as its job. So customer doesn't have equals and hash code. It will go to the objects equals and hash code. It will invoke that. In the objects equals method, this equal to object. Both are pointing to the same reference. Then only both are equal. So obviously it never eliminates duplicate. It will simply keep on adding. It will print the size of 3. So to overcome that, in our customer class, we overridden equals and hash code. When we did that, set will gonna see your customers thing, because the whatever that overridden, it will see that. Right? That's the first preference. So it got work.
Right.
So it followed that procedure there. But here it is a different case, right? Here it never, it will never know for in customer class. It will never see anything actually. Generally, if now you have a my list. So what's gonna happen here? So it's gonna throw you a compilation error. It will tell you, I don't know on what basis you want to tell wants me to sort type. Okay. So you have a customer, right? So in the customer you have 3 fields. We never know like whether you are asking based on customer ID I need to sort, based on customer name, or it's an amount, right? So it's gonna throw me an error stating you need to implement a comparable or comparator. We will see that. Okay. So what it does mean is when you want to sort your Pojo, right? There are two options of doing it. One is you need to implement a couple of interfaces. One of those couple of interfaces. One is comparable. The other one is comparator. We will first see comparable. Okay. So what you need to do? Suppose.
Ashok, can I interrupt 1 second, because I am having a confusion here. So, will it be okay for me to say that if I do, okay, collection.sort only works on list, right? You cannot do put a set inside it.
Yeah, correct. We will see that. How we are going to sort it in set also. I will show you that also. No issues.
Let's say if I want to sort a set, number one option is put the set elements into a tree set.
List finally. Yeah. Number one is to convert all the set
Number two
finally to a tree set.
into a list.
Yeah.
Or put everything into a list.
Convert to a list and then add all elements to a collection. Yeah, I mean sort using collections. Collections got sort. Fine.
Okay. But how come tree set is able to sort without anything?
Yeah.
It's an internal thing?
No.
Internally.
Tree set also cannot sort without you telling which field you want to sort within the customer. There also will get an error. Okay. We will see one by one. Okay. First, customer. We have an array list of customer. So here also you understood my point, right? Here you will get a compilation error, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't know on which field it needs to sort. So there are two ways of doing it. One is if you see it's a comparable. Another one if you see it's a comparator. We will see comparable first. So comparable is an interface. So when you need to implement that interface into your Pojo. Okay. So when you implement that interface into your Pojo, you will end up in overriding a method called compare to. There will be a method. Its name is compare to. In this method, you will tell which field you are going to sort basically. This method works like if this method is this method will be like this public int compare to, and it's going to take the customer object itself as an input. Okay. So here this is the keyword. This will refers to the current object, and customer C, the argument will refers to the second object. Got it? So when it works in that fashion, what going to happen is this method will return 0 if both objects are equal. This method will return -1 if the first object is greater. This method will return 1 if the first object is smaller. Accordingly, got it? So what our job is to override the compare to method and define our logic, whether it's ascending or descending, on which field you're going to actually sort it. Got it? So that's the way it works. Fine. Okay. So let's see how we're going to do it in Eclipse.
Okay.
So what I told, we're going to try the same thing now. Customer test. Let this be there. Okay. So yeah. If you see error here, the generic of type collection is not applicable for the type arguments list of customer. The inferred type customer is not a valid substitute for the bounded parameters comparable, right? So customer is not following any rules to tell to sort it. That's its point, right? So what I'm going to do here?
Sure, one
Yeah.
second. So can you put that cursor on the sort error? Okay. So bound mismatch, what is that mean? What is bound?
Bound mismatch is collections.sort method should take a comparable as an argument. Okay. So it cannot take apart from that anything. That's the reason. Okay. So my list here is the simple POJO class. It's not a comparable type. Sort method can take only a comparable type. That's why customer should implement a comparable. You know, in an inheritance relationship, if you implement anything, your class also becomes that type. Correct?
Okay.
If A implements B, A can also be called as B. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that's what it is telling. So the customer class doesn't have a comparable. That's a bound mismatch. That's the thing. Okay. The inferred type customer is not a valued substitute for the bounded parameters comparable. So your T meaning your class here. T is a general thing. Your T should extend comparable, meaning it should implement that interface. That's it. What says all about the error. Got it?
What about that question mark super T? I have seen that in generics in Java.
Don't worry about that now. We will discuss.
Okay,
So
okay,
first
sure,
we
sure.
will clean up all the basic things. Find some wildcard, okay? So we will discuss about both upper bound and lower bound wildcards later. Fine. So we include
So if we want to say this, that sort method is saying that the my list is containing objects which should implement the interface comparable.
yeah. It should implement comparable. When it implements comparable,
Okay.
the sort method will take on what basis it needs to sort from that compare to method. Okay. So it doesn't have a clue now.
Okay.
Okay, that's its point here.
Okay.
So now if I go to customer, right? So here if you see what you need to do, you need to put this implements comparable again generics on what objects you are putting this customer, right? So you need to put that the same thing again. So when you do that, you will get a one error. You need to add unimplemented methods because in the comparable interface you will have a method called compare to. When you do that compare to method, bottom you come here you need to write the logic. I told right you will get a customer and this thing. So based upon that you need to write a logic. When you return 0 it's mean that both objects are equal. So how it will work is collections.sort method, the my list will be internally converted to an array. Okay. So if you see then only you will have a more understanding. This is the entire list I am passing to your collections.sort. Am I correct, Abhi?
Right.
Yeah. The first step is the my list will be converted to an array. So when it converted to an array totally, it's a normal array. In a array of 0, you'll have a 1001 John and other information. Array of 1, array of 2. So it uses some sorting mechanisms. So while sorting, what it will do, it will convert that object and refer to compare to method. So it's a normal way of, see, you do a bubble sort itself. Assume you try to do a bubble sort itself. When you try to do a bubble sort itself, what you will do? You will use I equal to 0, I less than n minus 1, I plus plus, j equal to 0, j less than n minus 1 minus I, j plus plus. You remember the logic? If e of j is greater than e of j plus 1, we do that, right? So bubble sort works like comparing the subsequent elements alternatively and pushing the largest element to the last. Okay.
Right.
Suppose you write a sort logic using bubble sort itself. While comparing, at that point, it uses the compare to method of customer. You got it?
Okay.
While comparing, any sorting includes comparison. While comparing to determine the first object is greater than the second object or not, it uses the normal logic. Got it?
Right.
Fine. Of the compare to method. So here, what you need to do, you need to define. So here, this refers to the THIS, this that refers to the first object, and whatever that comes as the second argument refers to the second object. Fine.
Wait, I didn't get this. So,
So how will you?
I understood till comparative. I understood.
I can tell you in one word, like you return 0, it's going to be equal, return 1 minus 1. But you need to understand how a sort as an array works here, how it calls here. That's why I'm trying to explain you. Got it? So here, if I say
But where is the other object?
this is in the constructor you are passing is the other object. So it's for comparison. For comparing how many objects you need, 2 objects, right? The first object is
Right.
this. The second object is the other argument. Got it?
Okay.
I will show you an example.
Okay.
I will show you an example. Now, say for example, I will write that piece of code. What happens in collections.sort internally? Then you might have a greater understanding. Collections.sort my list, right? So inside that, if you see, first step, what it will do, it will convert my list to an array. T means it's any type, right? So it's like an object or something. So T of say customer array, say my list dot to array. It will do that. Fine. Say for example, now customer it need to compare. Sorry. Now T of C1 is equal to customer of 0. It's the first object. Got it?
Hmm.
T of C2 is equal to customer of 1 is the second object. Fine, Abhi, are you able to understand?
Yes.
Yes. So since customer is also implements comparable, okay, it is also become a comparable type. Am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Since
What did you
customer
say?
implements comparable interface, customer is also a type of comparable here.
Customer will
Since
compare here.
customer
Okay.
implements a comparable interface, customer class is also a type of comparable inheritance relationship.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So now
Yeah.
I'm going to call C1 dot compare to of C2. Got it? Likewise, I'm not
Okay.
writing the entire code. This is going to be in a loop. Okay, it's going to be in a couple of loops or something, some other whatever sorting logic they follows. In Java, they're going to use merge sort, which is something
Okay.
like int sort. Okay, so there
Okay.
when you see C1 dot compare to of C2, here C1 is called this because with the help of C1 only we are invoking the method. Got it?
Okay.
C2 is the
Okay.
object. So now you see this method here. This RG of 0
Okay.
is C2. Whoever calls this compare to, that C1 dot compare to, that will become this. Now you understood?
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah.
While comparing in a loop, it's going to call this method again and again to determine the comparison of two objects. It's not as a whole you determine. Many people doesn't know this. They will think as, okay, we need to do some configuration here. But that is how it works. End of the day, sorting, it's not going to use some of the sorting techniques. Sorting doesn't happen without comparison. No way you can do that without comparison, right? You need to compare again and
Right.
again. So when you compare two objects, you're going to refer this method to determine out of the two which is bigger, which is smaller. Got it?
Right.
When I do C1 dot
Right.
comparative of C2, this is going to get called. C1 will become this, C2 will become ARG of 0 here in this case. Right?
Okay.
So here I can tell that, then put some logic. If this dot, if you want to sort, here you will determine on what basis I want to sort. Got it?
Hmm.
So I will tell you
Yeah.
this dot name dot. So that's why many people see, if I want to sort with help of name, you need not write the entire logic here. This dot name dot equals arg 0 of dot name names return 0. This dot name dot greater than, you don't need to worry about doing all the big logics. What you can do, you can again call the strings compare to method, because string class also able to sort, because string class implements comparable interface. String class are already overridden compare to method. That is why list of string got worked for us. Got it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
understand this point. String class worked for us because the string class already implements comparable interface, and string class has already overridden compare to method. We will see that here.
Yes.
We will conclude that, then
Yeah.
we will write the logic here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We already have a string class, right? If you go to
Right.
home, the help of a string definition,
String. Comparable string.
I missed it.
Written.
Can you keep it here? Scrolling works slowly here.
Okay. You want to scroll?
Yeah, I want you to scroll to the class definition. Yeah, public final class. Excuse me. Comparable string. Fine.
Okay.
So
Yes.
here it uses comparable interface. So can you search for a comparative method here in the left hand side scroll bar? Comparative method. See, big logic. It needs to convert two things into a character array and make sure it needs to return 0, -1 or 1. It needs to determine the left one or right one which is bigger. Am I right? Correct. So
Yes.
based upon that, it uses a logic. It will convert uses ASCII values actually. So that's what return C1 minus C2 or C2 minus C1 or both are equal. We need not worry about that logic, but understand that you need not write again the same logic for your string class, for your string property in your own type. What you can do later, you can call it that method directly, right? So what I can do here, if this dot name equal to if this dot name cannot be null, or maybe if this dot name equal to null, or arg of, I can name some nice name actually, c2, c2 equal to, it can be the case, c2 can be null, or c2 dot name, that also can be null. When this is the case, some property is missing out of the two objects. Your job is to simply return 0. No need to do any changes. Maintain the same thing. Got it? Yeah. There's a problem here. If this dot, oh sorry, this dot name equal to null, c2 is null, c2 dot name is null. Now after this, I did not write all the big logic. So here I am trying to start with the help of the name. So what I'll do, this dot name dot compare to. Okay.
Okay.
C2 dot name. See here, within my this, I am using the strings compare to method. Name is a string. So in using that, whatever that returns, this is gonna work. Got it?
Okay. So I did not understand the first if statement. Why you are trying to see whether name is null?
I am trying to see if I create a first object like C1, customer C1. If I forget to set a name in that object, but I add that customer C1 into a list, that is possible, right? Okay, I may end up
Okay.
getting null pointer exceptions. Am I correct? So when I do this dot
Right.
name, something null dot anything is a null pointer exception. So that is why in this line I
Right.
am safe here. I will never get a null pointer here. I am doing all the validation conditions here, right? So when I set customer
Okay.
C1 equal to new customer, forgot to set a name, or I pass a C2 itself as a null. This cannot be null. That's why I didn't check it as this equal to null. That cannot be right. I need to call that object itself using the dot operator. C1 dot compare to C2. Am I correct? So I'm not worried
Yes.
about this being null, but name can be null. Also the passed argument can be null. If the passed argument is fine, if that doesn't have a name, that cannot be null. That can be null. So all the cases I'm checking. Whatever possible, don't disturb. Use the same order whatever there in the list. So return 0. If everything is fine, it's going to come to this place, right? So I no worries about null pointers here. The this dot name compare to. Compare to is a method which is again it's inside the string. So it will automatically help us in comparing the two objects and returning it. Got it?
But how can an object be? I understood the list dot name equals to null,
Hmm.
and C2 dot name can be null because we can say that okay we did not put the name. But how can an object will be? You can compare it with null. What is that
You
reason?
are telling C2, how can C2 be null, right? Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. See here. When I pass it here, why can't I pass it like this? C1 dot compare to null.
But we are getting the C1, C2 from the array,
Yeah, okay, wait a
from the
minute.
array list.
Wait. So collections dot sort my list. So let us do one thing. Here, customer C4. I forgot to assign, I'm just putting C4. What I'm going to do is my list dot add of C4. So what is C4 here? Null only, right?
Oh.
Got it? So C4 is null. When I try to take this customer of 3 here, this reference gonna be run. When I try to access the first object, luckily I get a null pointer here itself. But when I pass this argument, I gonna get a null pointer there. It's not possible, okay? So always better safer side to check a null condition. The code may not be like this. Maybe compiler itself put warnings there. And if I try to add customer C4, it will tell some warning or even throw errors. But as a code, when you design, we need to be sure that you never want to disturb of that. That's why I'm doing this. Got it?
Okay. Sure.
You understood this point. This is more of validation. Don't worry about that. But still, you understood this. You understood this.
And return zero means?
Sorry?
Return zero is success.
Return 0 is something where you will return 0 if both objects are equal. You will return 1 if the first object is greater than the second object. That we are sorting here. It's not success and failure. It's not about success and failure. In this method, we need to determine out of the two objects which is greater, which is lesser, or which is both are equal. That's our point here. Got it? So when the return type is int, when you return 0, we are telling that both are equal. When you return 1, we are telling that the first one is greater. When we return -1, we are telling that the first one is smaller. Got it?
Okay.
So when anything is null, there is no point of comparing both. So don't disturb the order already exists in the list. So return 0. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So now return this dot name dot compare to c2 dot name means I am using the compare to method inside what? String class. Correct? So that method will return 0, 1 or -1. Depends upon the two things. Are you clear now?
Yes.
Yes, great. So this is fine. So now, okay, we will run this first and we will see whether the error is gone or not. See now the error is gone. So I believe we are sorting with help of what? Help of name. Correct or not? So let us try to print that after sorting. So you will understand another thing now. Do you think it will be printed or object codes will be printed here? What should be printed here?
Object code.
See, I am sorting. It got sorted. To print, yeah, I can show to print. I can put a loop here for customer. See, am I right? My list.
Yes.
So to print each and every property, I can do like system.out.println c dot. So I'm going to see all the names, right? Get customer ID. You have c dot get customer ID, right? And now what I will do c dot get customer name. C dot get amount. So let us run this. First we will check whether it is started or not, then I will tell you the next thing. Yeah, so John should come last, Adam should be first, Adam 1002 Adam, something I made, Babu also made 1002, so 1002 Babu, 1, 2, 3, 4 and John. Got it now? It is able to sort.
Yes.
So error is gone and everything is fine, right? So when you see, yeah, so this is how it works. But the problem here in the comparable method is, comparable interface is, you could see if there is a chance of defining only one field, not more than that. Okay, at any time there could be only one field. Based upon that you can sort. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So but in web pages and all, if you see, there will be tables, right? Tables. Okay, in the table there will be a lot of things. You click on a column, all the data will be sorted based on the column. There will be 10 columns. You can sort based upon any field you require. I have seen that many of times. That's a common use case, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So in that case, how come that in each and everything we need to do a code change again and again? That may not help us, correct or not? Fine.
Right.
In that case only, we need to go for comparator, right? So comparator is something like a custom class. Fine. So I will tell you on that. So comparable, are you clear now? This is a way. So if you want to do another field apart from this, you need to change the code here. Okay.
Okay.
So one more thing I need to highlight you. Since string we had a comparative method, we had the cushion of being going to the string class and doing a comparative method. But what about these primitives? You need to write a manual logic here for this int. Got it? So it's a primitive. It doesn't have a comparative method. In that case, what you need to do? If I want to sort with help of an int, right? So this checks will not be there basically because a primitive cannot be null. I can check for only this thing whether C2 is null. And not even I can check for this. So I can check for only C2 is null. You return 0. And apart from that, what I can do is I should write my own logic here. If this dot id where cust id, if this dot cust id, okay, is equal to it's a primitive, that's why equal to c2 dot cust id. So you should say return 0. Else if this dot cust id is greater than c2 dot, it's a C way of coding, C programming type, right? So return,
Right.
we have 1. I think the first one is greater means we will see. I'm also a bit confused always whether it is return 1 or return 0. Here I am going to simply do return -1. Fine. So okay, this is now based upon what customer ID I am trying to sort. Okay, so here I have not used comparative method internally because it's a primitive. I need to do the logic on my own. So what people will do basically, instead of doing these logics, they will make this as a wrapper integer. Instead of putting in anyway boxing and auto boxing, unboxing is what is that, automatic in Java 5. People will convert that into capital integer. So when you have a capital integer in your hand, you have the cushion of being using comparative method inside it. You understood that point?
Okay.
When I make this as integer, directly in that method, I can put like comparative method. So I will show you that as a next step. First we will run this.
Okay.
So you understood this logic, like customer ID. So I am trying to do the logic on my own. I know when both are equal, it's 0. When the first one is greater, it's going to be 1. When the other case, it's going to be -1. Okay. So let us try to run this and see whether it is sorting ascending or descending.
Okay. Yeah, Ashok, can we do a system out concatenating the fields? Because otherwise it will be a little bit difficult. Right? What I'm saying is that one system out with c dot get cust id, then concatenate c dot get name, so that the display comes.
So in the output field you can see easily. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I have another way of doing that also. I want to explain that also for you.
Okay.
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 So
2002 should come first, then 2000. Then
sorry, come again.
1002 and then 2001, then
2001 and 3002 should come. We didn't have our logic. Hopefully, I need to check actually. It's sorting ascending or descending.
Sure.
Generally, I forget -1, 1. Yeah, we are correct. So if you return 1 means if it is first one is greater than the second one, return 1. First one is lesser than the second one, return -1. It's sorting perfectly. So it's our logic here now. Correct? Fine.
Okay.
So okay, if you have many people, what people will do is instead of writing these type of codes, because you need to know all the ways, right? That's why I'm explaining step by step. What if it is primitive? How you need to do? It's not that I can tell like just orally comparative method. You just need to return 1. It's not that. You need to actually have hands-on. That's why I'm explaining. So int means you need to do your own logic. What people will do instead of doing that, they go directly here. If it is your Pojo, you have this control. Correct?
Right.
I can do this. If some other Pojo within the jar, our Pojo is coming from outside world, third party, library. If you want to sort the data, if it is a primitive, then you need to write the logic like this. You have no other way of going to the Mojo and sorting it. I mean, changing the primitives to wrappers. Am I correct?
Sure. Yes.
Understood the use case, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's our customer class. We have a cushion of solving it. I mean, changing it. So what I will do, I go here, I make it as integer. So boxing, unboxing is automatic here. So what I will do here, again I will fall back to the previous code. Oh, okay. Let me go back. Okay. Again I fall back to the previous code. This time around, what I will do, if I change this to integer, I can do simply in the place of this thing, I can do isomer. That's right. Because it's an object right now, integer is not a no more a primitive, right? So in that integer wrapper class, you have again like a string. It also has a comparative method. So no issues.
Okay. Okay.
Got it. You need not write this logic. So that's why we have always wrappers for all the primitives to enjoy the object-oriented things rather than writing that C type of code. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So when you do that, if the other way, as I told, right, then you want to sort some other objects, some other which is wherever the Pojo is in, not in your control. The Pojo might be coming as a third-party jar, third-party library. That may be the lot of cases actually in real time. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So in real time, you may be consuming some other web service. They're gonna return some objects to you. You never have a control of changing their structure. So, but you have a use case of sorting the data. You have to go through the logic. That's why I told that way also. Got it now?
Okay. Yeah.
I will test once more and make sure all things are working fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Till this point, are you clear?
Yes.
Yes. And now, one more thing to add on this. So when we displayed strings, right, if you remember, when we are doing strings here, like, yeah, here, collections.sort of my list. You remember I printed this directly, system.out.println my list. It was working quite good.
Yes.
So it printed the content directly. Also, I did a group also for,
Yeah.
it would have printed in angular brackets, like as a list in each cell, the content directly. In this case, string s colon my list, when I did like this, here also it printed the content directly. But again, string, when I speak again, string is again a class, it's not a primitive. How is able to print the content directly inside the character? You got my point? String is a character only, right, internally. Again, it's a class.
Yeah.
But here, when I do this, it may not work. It will come as an object reference only. I was forced to go inside like c.getID, c.getName and so on. Got it? So here if you see, if I try this, customer CC colon, when I try this, you think what is going to be printed here? Can you tell what it gonna be, what it can print here? Okay, it's gonna be the objects, right? It will never get printed like, you see, you able to understand?
Yes.
Yes. So, but string was working, right? A string is working perfectly fine. String is also a class. Customer is also a class. Then what's the difference between us and the string? So you already noted three things now. One is equals and hash code in our own customized defined in order to eliminate duplicates. Fine. Okay.
Right.
And the second thing is, listen. And the second thing is, yeah. And the second thing is we learned about comparable interface to sort the data, which string also did, right? So two things we are clear, equals hash code which is from the object class, string overridden that, and string implemented comparable interface, it overridden compare to method. And now how a string able to print the result of a character array directly when you able to put in a system.out.println. How is system.out.println, whatever object you pass inside, it will call the, if it is primitive, it will print. If it is an object, it will call the toString method in that POJO or in that object. Got it?
Okay.
There will be a toString method. So which will be in the object class. In the object class, if you see, there will be methods called equals, hashcode, toString, get class, and yeah, wait, and those things for threads. Okay. For now, equals and hashcode you are already aware. And the third one is toString. So in the this is printing.
So that means because we have system.out, we are sending a customer CC object, and the CC object we did not have the code for toString method of object. So the object class toString is called. That's why we are seeing this.
Excellent.
Right?
Okay, you got it the entire flow, right? So the objects toString method will print the hash code with the path. That's why we are seeing this. So what we need to do? What could be the solution here?
We have to override the toString method.
We have to override the toString method, which could have been already done in the string class. We can refer the string class again.
Yes.
So can you search for toString here? If I scroll, it will take time.
But it is a string class only, right? We have to go to
No. First understand, even though it's a string class, it's not, string is not automatic in Java. String class is nothing but written in JDK, which wraps a string array, character array. Okay, there is no string concept in C programming, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, end of the day, how a program works, character array, a group of characters is called a string, terminated by a /0, null, right? So it works in the same way. What Java developed when they started, they wrapped a character array and created a string class. They make sure it is immutable. No one can change the object content. So they ensured all these things and written lot of frequently done operations for us, like splitting, concatenating, formatting, lot of things they have introduced. All these things, if you see in the string class code, you will see character arrays only. Fine. So now my point is, they want to give the character array content back to us, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so that's why I'm asking you to search for toString method. Can you scroll like toString?
Okay.
Yeah. See here, character result. If to convert it, they don't want to give you a same object within that. They want to create a new object because it's again they want to follow the concept of immutability and get cache, some other internal method they are calling, and they are trying to copy everything in the result and returning your result character array. I told, right, you will be getting a character array as a result. Fine?
Right.
Yes. So same thing you have to do here. Fine. You need to make sure in your class what you need to return. So now you could have understood, like the Java itself is just a wrapper, right? The entire thing on a primitives only. The rules concept help us to designing code best and make us to do proper arrangements, and maintenance will be quite easy. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah, so now our job, you understood, your point is correct. We need to override toString method.
toString.
So let us do that. So toString method gonna return public string toString. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You need to return whichever objects it calls toString, that this. Got it?
Okay.
If you see, there is a symbol here. This is called overrides. Java.lang.object. This is nothing but it's an interface actually. So it implements compare to interface. Fine. And if you see here, it's again override Java.
So Ashok, this @rate override is a annotation, right?
It's annotation, right? It comes automatically.
What is it's like a it's not a comment, correct?
It's not a
Comment
comment,
is
no. It's an annotation. It's marker to the compiler when it runs that this equals method is already there in my parent class. But you need to refer my equals implementation. You don't need to refer my parents. See, suppose this equals method is not here. Till that point, it was referring objects equals method, right? So I have written
right.
my own version. You need to refer here. So it's a marker to tell that. Got it?
Or just marker. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't write annotation, it's fine, right?
You have to. It came automatically, right? You have to actually.
If you remove it,
If you remove it, since it's an editor, anyhow you are writing overrides, no problem. In certain
yeah.
cases, for interface, I don't think it will work if you remove it. Let's see. Let me see. I have to check actually. Okay, it's working. Okay, it's just a marker. It depends upon the object you create. Okay, so how you know polymorphism? Okay,
Yes.
say in polymorphism, if an animal class has a equals method, okay, let me explain. Animal class has a equals method. Animal A equal to new tiger. Fine. If the tiger class doesn't have a equals method, this A will invoke equals of what? Animal.
Animal.
Animal. Right? If an animal class has a equals method and tiger also has equals method, this A will invoke tigers. Got it? Because the
Yes.
implementation is a tiger. So same thing will work. Fine. It seems the annotation is just a marker here. Even if you don't do it, automatically taking care of. So no issues.
Right. So, Ashok, what if someone has like find polymorphism? What will be the best
Definition.
definition? Yeah.
Okay. So a base class reference pointing to a subclass object. That's what I tell.
Base class.
A base class
Base
reference.
class.
See here,
Yeah.
base class reference. It's a reference to a base class pointing to a subclass object. So that in runtime, I will decide what implementation should be, what implementation should run. That's it. So I
Okay.
use
Base
it
class reference
point
pointing to a
subclass object. Correct. It's a
subclass.
technical definition. Base class reference pointing to an subclass object. That's more of technical definition, right? So with the help of that, I can change my subclass object at any point of time to that particular base class reference. Okay, so I can also at runtime decide what type of implementations I want to use. Got it?
Okay.
So it's the best way of defining polymorphism.
Okay.
Okay.
But let's say you have animal A and new tiger, but runtime I want to there is a method which is overridden in tiger,
Okay.
and but in runtime I say that no, I don't want the tiger's method, I want the animal's method, because now runtime we are going to run the tiger's method only, right?
Runtime tiger methods only will gonna run. You cannot tell.
Right. But if I want to say that no, I want to run animals method, not tigers, then we have to typecast, right? Typecast to animal.
Exactly, we need to typecast it to the animal, right? But anyhow you typecast, it will have the tiger object injection only, right? Instance only. So obviously, tiger's reference only will be running. Got it?
So I cannot go
Code,
against that.
you could have seen that code in somewhere. It's a reverse case. You have a method in animal class. Okay, sorry, you don't have a method
Yes.
in animal class, but you have a method in tiger class. Got it?
Yes.
Yes. Understand? You don't have a
Yes.
method in animal class, but you have a method in tiger class. With this type of declaration, you cannot access that with A. Got it?
Right.
Right, because A is just a reference to an animal. Whatever there in the animal, only it will access. If it is overwritten in tiger, it will refer to tiger because its implementation is tiger, new tiger. But if it is anything specific to tiger, this A doesn't even know it's there. Got it? In that case, you will do the typecast. Okay. It's not the case you told. In that case, what you will do, you will convert this like this. Okay. Now after this, you can do t dot some method. Say a method called shout is not in the animal. It's a method called roar is not in the animal class, but it's in the tiger class. You cannot do a dot roar. Instead, what you need to do, you need to typecast the a to a tiger, and then t dot roar is possible.
Okay.
This is the thing you are referring. It's not like the other way you referred. Yeah, I want to use the tiger's implementation to the animal. Not something you said. That's not correct.
But what is the point in then writing animal in new tiger? Then
Yeah.
if I want to just, I have to typecast later. And but I think if I write tiger t is equal to new tiger, then I won't be able to access animals method, is it?
If you write like tiger t equal to new tiger, we will do one thing. Can I include that in our portions like one half an hour?
Okay, sure.
That is better, I guess. So like
Okay, yes.
we will learn about apart from that we will learn about factory pattern in that. Some small design pattern will make you understand more on what you call more on polymorphism. So factory pattern polymorphism. That will be better, I guess.
Yes.
So I will include that. Okay, so in the next class we will start up with setting up few classes, defining polymorphic relationship and factory pattern. There is a concept of Lisco substitution principle. Substitution principle, how methods are working, methods and exception handling in subclasses. So all these things if you learn you will be more clear on it. Okay.
Okay.
So this itself might take a hour or so. That's why we'll see.
Oh, okay, sure.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were here till compare to method. Am I right? So are you clear now? Comparable, compare to method. So yeah, we were writing two string, right? So until this point you are clear, right? Are we able to run this? I think we didn't run, right? Yeah, let us try to run this one. Fine?
Yes.
Yes. So we learned first in our Pojo, we started with a simple Pojo. That Pojo ended up with overriding equals and hash code for the sake of eliminating duplicates in set. It overridden comparative method using implements comparable interface for the sake of sorting it. It overridden toString for the sake of printing it in sysop. So all the three concepts clear. Right? Okay. Now the next problem we are having is we are, as I told, in real-time web pages there will be many menus, right? There will be menus like 10 columns. People can sort with any column. They just simply on the header will be automatically sorted. Even in the Confluence pages itself it's happening. Correct or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So if that is the case, we cannot have this. Okay, we can have with a basic sorting for this. What if want more than one field? What is the choice for more than one field? In that case, we need to go for comparator. Okay. Comparator, right? So it is a way to, it is a custom based sorting technique. Fine.
Comparator is a not an interface.
Yeah, it is a custom based sorting technique means you can write n number of comparators you want. That will not be inside the Pojo, outside. Outside n number of classes you want, you can define. Okay. So you can define n number of classes you want, and in each class you will tell on which field you want to sort. Okay. Okay. So while calling the collections.sort, you will refer this comparator. Based on that, it will decide on which field I want to sort. So I can create 10 comparators. Suppose for this customer itself, I can create up to 3 comparators. One is for the ID, another one is for the name, another one is for the salary. Based on some logic, I can ask the user on which type you want to sort. You can display the data based on that. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll do that now. Uh, I will be back in a couple of minutes, Abhi. I need some water.
Okay, sure. Should we meet at 10:50?
Sorry?
10:50 a.m.
Yeah, sure. No problem. We'll
10
connect
minutes?
at 50. Sure. 10 minutes break. Yeah.
10 minutes, yeah.
Thanks. Hello?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fine. So yeah, comparator.
So this is comparator will be the last topic, right, today?
Correct, correct. Yeah, exactly. Fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you see, yeah, comparator, it is a yeah, it's a custom-based sorting technique, right? So when I say
Yeah.
a custom-based sorting technique, you can sort on any field you want. So for each field, you write a separate class, correct? You want one
Okay.
class for each and every field. So how we going to do that is we're going to define uh, separate classes. I'm going to show you example for that. Say for in a customer, you have a customer ID, name and amount, right? Let the or starting with ID, right? Let the ID be there. We will try to write two more sorting techniques, one for name and another for salary. Got it? Okay. So what I can do is I can
Okay.
create a separate class for that. So that class is totally independent with the customer class, right? So it's outside the customer class. So the class name could be like customer name sorter. It's a meaningful thing. So implements comparator, right?
Yeah.
Comparator of customer. So you need to understand that when we implemented comparable within the same POJO, there was a method called compare to, where we overridden. Here,
Right.
here you will get a method called
Compare.
compare, taking two arguments, customer one, customer two. So when the actually when the collections trying to sort it, it will pass the two arguments as C1 comma C2. Likewise, dot
Okay.
compare of C1 comma C2. It's not, it will not call C1 dot compare to of C2. So that's a slight difference.
Okay.
So when you click this, the first thing, and the second thing is you need to unimplement the overridden method. So we'll end up in like this compare. No way. Oh, we need not all this stuff.
We don't need that,
We
right?
don't need this.
Right.
My God. Okay. So in the compare method, see here you have two arguments. One is uh, customer ARG0, another one is customer ARG1. If you closely look into the compare to method, we had only one argument. Okay. This
Right.
function will be called in this approach. This function will be called, it will not be called like this, it will be called like compare to of C1 comma C2 using the sorter technique. This because the object is different here. The class we are calling this method is different. That's why you got the point. Because the class is
Right.
something like customer name sorter, right? So it should be like customer name sorter cn equal to new customer name sort. I'm telling how internally it will try to call this method. Fine.
Right. Right. But it should be compare, right? Not compare to.
Sorry. It's compare. So it will call like cn dot. So the cn object is different because the method in which the compare method is in the class in which the compare method is customer name sorter. It's a different class rather than customer class. In the other way, right, when we implemented comparable, the comparative method within the same class. That's why we were able to call with the customer object itself, like c1 dot compare to of c2. Here it will be the other object we are calling this method. So you need to pass the two arguments. Did you understood that concept?
Yes.
Yes, you're clear, right? The definition of the compare method in the comparator interface, we are defining in a separate class. To call a method in a class, you need to create an object for that class. So customer name sorter is a object. So there you are calling cn.compare of c1 comma c2, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
when you call c1.compare to method, the method compare to within the which within itself the same customer POJO. Got it? So c1.compare to c2 works. Clear on that, Abhi? Or more confusing?
I'm little confused because compared to I understood what you are saying. I have understood that because the Pojo we have defined implements that comparable
Okay.
interface, and so we wrote a method called compare to, and we have wrote our logic inside it
You have
because we are going to compare. So
one thing you need to
internally,
understand out of which is any method you call from a class, it's non-static methods. You need to call it with the help of objects only. Correct or not? Okay.
yes,
So if I write a comparative method inside the Pojo I want to sort itself, I am about to call that method with the help of my Pojo only, with the help of my reference
yes,
only. Correct. So in that case,
yes,
why you needed two arguments? I can take the other argument using this operator. Correct. So that's why
right,
we implemented
right,
C1 dot compare to of C2. But here the other
right.
case, we are writing our own separate custom classes. Right? There you're going to create an object of that class that may not help you by passing. This will never refer to a customer there. This will this
Correct.
keyword will refer to the customer name sorter. So it will not help you there. That's why we are passing two arguments.
Okay,
Fine?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So here again the same stuff. You need to define the logic for here. Here obviously there is a chance of both objects being null. There at least this cannot be null. There, this that operator cannot be null. If it is null, you could get a null pointer in the calling place itself. Here there is a chance that both can be null. So obviously these checks should be there. So I can put like a C1 comma C2 instead of ARG1. So I can put if C1 equal to null or C2 equal to null or C3 oh sorry C1 dot get name is equal to null or C2 dot get name equal to null. In all these cases, we don't change any state, just return 0. Got it? Yeah. Now here,
Uh, but Ashok, if we return zero, it means that objects are same, right?
yeah, we will return 0. Objects are same. What if there are few nulls in between and few objects are there? How could we determine the null should go last? That's business requirement.
Uh,
So
no,
I
no, but what I am thinking is that let's say there are two objects,
hmm,
okay, and the name of one is null, the
hmm.
other one is say Ashok.
Yeah, correct. So if the object
But
position,
if we compare and if we send back return zero, that means Ashok and name, but that may not be correct.
wait. So in the list collection, the first object is Avi, the second object is Ashok,
Okay,
the third object is null, fourth is John. Okay. So I'm
okay,
comparing
okay.
this. So Ashok followed by null. So this is the way they added, right? So when two objects compare at subsequently, I don't want to consider null at all. Whenever I try to consider null, I don't want to change the position whichever they are already in the list, right? If Ashok and null, you return back it as Ashok and null itself. Why you return as null and Ashok? Okay. So here the compare method determines in which order you want, right? So one is null and the other is null, both are same, 0, fine. If one is null, other is object, so it comes as null Ashok. Why you need to return that as Ashok followed by null? Keep it as null followed by Ashok itself. Why you have to
But
change that order?
then the sorting won't be proper.
No. It will be proper. The other things will be sorted properly. See,
No,
that
others will be sorted, but let's say with this logic,
I got your point.
uh,
I got your point where if it is Ashok, John, null and something, the null will
yes,
not go to the first or last. It might be in the middle. You are absolutely right. I'm not denying you. Okay. So the null might be in the middle, stating it should be Ashok should come first, maybe Abraham next, John third. It might be the case because of nulls we are doing this type of logic. It might be the case Ashok null, Abraham John. The other things will be sorted, but in between then and there could be nulls. You are right.
yes,
I understand 100% agree your point. So that's a take of the
okay,
business call there. How they want actually. They want to move the nulls at the last means we need to rethink and revisit this logic, or before passing to this compare sorter itself, we need to remove all the nulls, and there are a lot of we need to make sure nothing goes wrong there. Fine, that's a proper way.
Okay. Okay.
I
Sure.
got your point perfectly. So
Sure.
the
Sure.
point is the null should either move to the last, treating Ashok.
Yes. Or maybe we should not have the null at all in the list.
Yeah, we should not have the null at all, or before calling this, move to the null. Why I write
Is
this type of
there?
code is I
Yeah.
always concerned with not making, because of sorting. I don't want to end the application of null pointer exception, right? So,
Okay.
so I am concerned on this. So I have a check like this. Okay, I design
Okay.
like it's a headache of whoever calls me. They have to send a proper date. I don't send. I'm going to do like this. I'm not going to stop application because of this. An null pointer application will make application stop, right? Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Sure.
it will stop. It will not even further serves the request. That particular request is stopped. Correct.
Yes.
That's the point. So I don't want to go
Okay.
into that. Fine. So here,
Okay.
whatever you can do, you can simply route C1 dot compare to C2. That's it. So again, the strings compare to method will take care of everything. Here you will never get a, oh no, C1 dot name, right? Get name.
Name.
C2 dot get name. Fine. Here, because of these checks, here you will never get a null pointer. C1 is not null, no problem. Get name is not null. You will never get a null pointer anywhere. This line will work perfectly. That's the point.
Okay.
Fine. So now how to use this? I define my own sorter here, name sorter. How to use this actually? What I can do here, you can go here. So sort has two overloaded methods if you see. One is with the only one argument. The other thing is with this argument followed by a comparator class object. Got it? So what I can do, collections.sort of here, if the list already has a comparable, it's fine. So if you want to sort based upon the comparator you define, you need to put a comma with the second argument telling what type of class object is that. New of customer name sorter. That's it.
Okay.
Fine. So here you will tell the type of sorting. What will happen? The sort method will convert this again back to an array, and with this object in hand, it will call the compare method of likewise. Likewise, whatever I defined here. It will call it already has this CN object because we created and passed it, and we will simply call compare method of these two objects, and using if conditions, it will decide how to sort it. Fine?
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So let us try to run this. We need to see the second one is sorted based upon name. Yeah, first one with the help of IDs, which is already with the help of comparable. And if you see the second one with the help of names, suppose Adam, Babu, and John. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So similar wise, you can create n number of comparators you want. If I want the other comparator, like customer salary comparator, I can try. You can try that, okay,
Okay.
as a
Sure. Sure. Sure.
later point of time. You can try that
Yes.
customer ID sorter in similar way. Fine. Okay.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
So any more things you require in comparator, or I can help you in some other topic now?
Uh, I think I am clear with this, but I have one question which is not related to comparable or comparator,
Okay, okay.
because am always confused, like because you have naming conventions, right? Because you name classes in certain way, like
Okay.
employee test, customer name order, customer test, customer, and then you create those classes.
Okay.
So how do you decide what should be the name of some application? Like is there some rule you
Okay.
follow? Like, okay, this is a okay, this is a customer test. Customer test, I understood that you want to test the customer object, right?
Yeah.
understood. But I'm just wondering, I mean, if you have
Yeah. Naming convention,
okay,
as you know, class name starts with capital letter. Each word should be capital letter. Those are like the definitions in the textbook. Okay. So apart from that,
yes,
giving a
yes,
good name is something like it should be nouns. Okay. The class name should.
nouns, okay,
Okay, that's the thing.
okay,
And the actions inside the class should be a verb. That's it. So when you decide a class name being a noun, customer name sorting, I have not done that, right? I made customer name sorter, that become a noun. It's a name to it, right? And the compare
yes,
is a verb here, okay? So all the nouns, when you name a class, it should define a noun, some action. Also the pojos. Pojos are real-time entities in the world, customer, employee, person, animal, tiger, and everything. And some actions oriented class, right? You just make it with the proper name. It's a sorter, right? So that's why I made it as customer name sorter. Never name
okay,
method names, always make sure you perform some action on a method, right? Like merge, do, compare, do this, that. A
okay,
lot of things are there. That's how proper naming convention works. Also, it's a good practice to enclose a lot of things into packages. Okay, I have defined, since we are doing for learning purpose, what I did is I made everything as a what you call in a single package. But normally what we do, if you have 10 type of sorters, you can create a package itself. Okay, com
okay.
dot application dot some.
What's the advantage of package, like just for putting things in groups, or it's like helping in compilation and deployment?
Uh, I don't think it's a improves performance. It's for our understanding, more readability, and
Understanding.
packaged resolutions. Meaning, I can have a same class name somewhere else also. I need not worry again. So I cannot define again another customer here in this package, right? If I
Okay.
want. If I put it in another folder, I can have. It's simply like a Windows folder structure, right? I can have a same,
Okay,
have a
fine.
same file name with the same within the same folder. Nowadays, what it is doing it
Okay.
itself, making it as a underscore copy or something, the file name, right? And before that, it will not allow in past if you have remember, right? So you
Okay.
need to put it
Okay.
that with a different name or paste it in a different folder. So likewise,
Okay.
it's a grouping, logical grouping of classes generally. So that's what all the sorters you can put it in a particular class. I mean particular package.
Okay.
And all the
Package.
helper classes. Helper classes are something like you can write some helper. Helper means if you want to interact with a database or something in between, I like customer helper. If I want to interact with
Okay.
some other thing like DAO layers are there, data access objects. So the class name goes in by that
Okay.
way, and it will be based upon packages. If I have all the utilities under all the utility classes, okay, under one package, fine. So it works on that way.
Okay.
Are you aware of a static keyword? Thorough on that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So static is something on a class level, right? So you
Right.
create even that, yeah. Okay, so one thing here. Let us try one thing.
Okay.
So static variables are like the class level. So one of the best examples is a count, right?
Okay.
Correct?
Hmm.
Yes. What I want is here. Static variables can be accessed with the help of class name itself. You are of that also, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Also you can access with the objects also.
Hmm.
Could have make it as public. So, right. So what could be the output here? What do you think? What will happen?
It'll be zero.
Okay. So okay, fine. This is zero. This one.
This one. It's a null object, right? We are not initially cust ID is number, so this will be 0. Number, but number is an integer object. But I think even if we don't initialize it, it should be 0 only.
So you say both are 0, right?
Yes.
But you need to understand the things here, Avi. Customer C
Okay.
equal to null. C is not pointing to anything, right? So what is an object in Java? Whenever you create a new something, that one is an object. Here C is just a reference, right? So when I say
Right.
customer C equal to new customer, first step, this new customer will get created. The object will get created and that particular object will get assigned to a variable called C. Reference is just like a remote control.
Right.
So it is pointing to an object.
Mm-hmm.
In our example, whatever I have given, it doesn't even has an object here, right?
Okay.
Okay. So C is just pointing to null. Fine. So
Right.
when I point something to null, you access that, what will happen? C dot get customer ID, null dot something. It's not even pointing to a bubble. C is not pointing to anything. Nothing, anything. Nothing dot something gonna give you a null pointer exception.
Nothing. Okay.
Right?
None.
So on the other
Yeah,
hand, this one count is a static variable. Many people will get confused here. So actually, many people will have a strong belief that anything null dot something always will give you a null pointer exception, right? But a count is something like a static variable that can be accessed with the help of a class itself. It never needs an object at all. Again. Okay. So I believe it should not be null pointer for the static variable here. Actually, you should have done customer.count. But somewhere around you did c.count. Got it? Customer.count, class name.count is the right way. But anyway, you created an object, some reference and .count, that is also allowed. But that is not pointing to any object. Do you feel that these are not static variables, are not inside object, right?
Right.
Let us see.
Okay.
You will get a null pointer exception, but before that, at least we see what is happening. Yeah,
0 is there.
Not printed. So static variable, not an issue. The reason behind that, it's not an instance variable, right? Instance is something inside the object. But see here, in the next line itself, c dot get customer ID is something which is going to refer an instance there, right? So which is totally different. Got it? You got a null pointer exception. This is some of the interview questions. Like they put null. So, but if you don't tell this, you are gone actually. C dot get customer ID never. Yeah.
Yes.
It might be confusing. Okay, but this is a basic thing, a straightforward thing. Fine.
Okay, I understood.
Yeah. So yeah, customer object. So this is a power of static. If you increment here, also later you print it, doesn't matter. You will get again the same value because it's a global sort of thing, right?
Okay.
So you have again, I can print like customer dot get count. Sorry, I cannot put get and status for it. So you can access likewise also, but this will never reach this line because of this line being null pointer.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so I comment result. So you will see that it's a global thing. So anyway you access, you're gonna get 1 here. Fine. It's a post increment. So at the place of printing it's 0. After that it will increment. So 1 means you will end up in getting a value called 1.
Right. I have last. I think it's almost time.
Okay.
I have 2 questions. One question is there is something called class loader, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So is that the thing where the static variable is stored because we loaded the class but we are pointing to null? So is this the point where?
Okay. Static variables gets loaded when the class gets loaded itself, created. That's a correct point. Because the concept of class loader is to load your class, it needs to load the other classes. Correct. So it follows something called a delegation model. A delegation model in the sense It has to load all the JDK classes first. Fine. So then only it will load your own class. Before loading customer, it has to load comparable, it has to load string, it has to load integer, everything. So while loading everything, and finally when it loads customer, it will create the static variable at that point itself. So static variables get created at that point. To make you more clear on that, in the customer test, if I write a static block, even before the class is started, right? Even before that public static void main, this block gonna execute. So that's a proof of how a static variable gets created. It gets created when the class is getting loaded itself. Say for example, so let's try to run this.
Okay.
So customer, before when the customer test itself is loaded, right? As a first point when I try to run an application, it will compile and then load. You could see that's the first thing that got printed, right?
Okay.
Not even the first line in public static void main. All these things. You can even try by printing the very first lines of message. So static is a thing, static keywords and static blocks will get loaded while the class itself get loaded. Suppose you want to initialize some values before the class itself get loaded, the perfect place is static block. Okay. So you will see welcome itself got printed. It's the very first line in the public static void main. Fine.
Okay. Yes.
So I am testing void plus 9. Fine.
Okay.
So
So that is static variables are not in stack, not in heap, but it's in some other place, right? In the memory.
not in heap, not in stack. Yeah, I have to. I will do some research and get back to you on that. It's a very good question. So I too had a doubt now while I was explaining where static variable should store them. I have to research that.
Right.
If we calling it something like global,
But it is not in stack, right?
Stack we need to see.
Okay, because stack comes into picture only when we are creating an object, correct?
Stack comes into a picture for a local variables. Why when it comes to an object, here employee, all these C1, C2 will be in a stack of main function. Got it? A main will have a stack, right? Inside main stack, you have a C1 is a reference, C2 is a reference, C3 is a reference. Those stack inside that main C1, C2, C3 will refer to the three objects in the heap. Inside the three bubbles, again these are variables. Okay, again inside this.
So we can say that if the class have methods, the methods goes into stack and those variables are there.
Exactly.
Then those variables
exactly. Say for example, simple explanation. Yes, you are right. Say for example, this set customer ID itself. This is a method. So it will for this itself a stack will be created. So inside the whole stack, you will have small stacks for each method. So for this method, a stack will be created, and this is a local variable. This will be inside the stack. Okay, but this part is in the heap. From the local variable, you are copying it to the heap. Okay.
And you once said that I think it's almost time 11:20. Auto boxing and unboxing is something, right?
Yeah.
And it was in reference to integer wrapper class, is it?
Yeah. So what is the correct wrapper?
What is auto boxing and unboxing? Is it that because integer is primitive, you have a wrapper class? And then
auto boxing and unboxing is before Java 5. What you need to do is you have something like you put like integer a equal to you cannot do this actually. You need to convert. So this is called boxing and unboxing. Meaning to a class is a class, right? You can assign a directly an integer variable, right? The integer value that is done automatically. That feature is being done in Java 5, so you need not worry about that. You can use it like a primitive. Okay. So for example, int a equal to 10. Sorry, int b equal to 10. I say that integer c equal to b allowed, but before that it is not allowed actually. Before Java 5. I don't remember actually
Okay.
what they did, what type casting they did to make it happen to a primitive to a wrapper. I don't remember because I've never used it. But this is a way. It's automatic now. Integer c equal to b. On the other hand, you can convert. Yeah, both ways are possible. Unboxing boxing means if I have like integer d equal to 89, I can make int e equal to d. This is also allowed.
Okay. Okay. This is
So
auto
this is
boxing.
something like you are assigning a class itself too. So when you do this, automatically there will be a method in integer dot int value. If you closely look into an integer wrapper class, it dot int value will be a method. Okay, so integer would have been wrapped around a primitive called small int. Dot int value is going to return that int. So that dot int value or converting again back to a wrapper, the things are automatically taken care. Nothing else. That is called
Sure, sure, sure. I got
boxing and unboxing.
it. Okay, I got it. Thanks. And do you? This is the last. I think it's time. Time is there. So, do you have any site where I will get some practice questions? Or and there will be hundreds of things where we can practice this, right? But is there any site where you think that you have recommended to other students that if I, let's say, if I want to practice scenarios, like making a comparator
I
comparable
would
and
prefer go through Head First Java book. Apart from that,
at first Java.
yeah, Head First Java is a very good textbook to learn all these things like objects, what is interface, implementations, what is inheritance. It's a very cool book, so it will make you more understanding of how objects and how all this stuff works, including the generics,
Okay.
parts and everything. Okay, so
Okay.
for the
Okay.
next class, I will
Yes.
include the polymorphism with the wildcards. Okay, generic wildcards, how it works. Okay, and
Okay.
then we
Yes.
will move on to. I think for the next class, we will try to read from a CSV file, right? I think we will be learning file handling. I believe, correct?
Okay.
So there we
Yes.
will obviously will get assignment. Okay, like how
Okay.
to read
Okay.
file and do
I
it.
think we have this one. We have the threads. So this is
Oh,
done.
threads.
So okay.
We can learn
Threads.
threads or we can go for file reading. Anything is fine. So yeah, anyway we have threads. I will combine here with polymorphism,
File. Okay.
polymorphism, comma, generic wildcards
Okay.
and plus threads. Fine. And then the other class we
Yep.
can go for file reading. Fine.
Okay. Yes. That
Then
sounds
from
good.
fifth class we will do that project again.
Okay,
The file
okay.
from
I
CSV
think
and file.
that will help because I'm still like, that question which is like, should be throwing null pointer exception.
Okay.
So I'm out of the interview by now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if I go for an interview, yeah, yeah. So,
No
okay.
problem.
I think
We
that will
will
be
go through
helpful.
that at first
That
Java
will,
book. That will help you a lot parallelly with the training.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I believe that if you during the training ask me those kind of questions, then it will help me in interviews.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
what will
Fine.
be the
I will do that. I will do that. So just at the
okay.
final point of time, I have just come up with few questions to you. So we can have sessions like final 10 minutes or 15 minutes with few questions. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. So next Saturday I will meet
Okay, Ravi. Then
with you.
take care. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.